Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders by Sherilyn Cadle. Okay, y'all, we're going to go on to Chapter 10, The Night Before. On Saturday night, August 11th, Shanann had less than 36 hours to live. Did she start to feel her life was almost over? Research has shown people do not have a clue. Shanann's friends all have said she was sick all weekend and was throwing up. Her friends talked about how she just wasn't herself. She was down, not fun-loving as usual. Shanann was usually the life of the party, but not this weekend. Little did she know she was about to step into eternity. Oh God. And everything she had done in her life, every friendship she made, and everything she had accomplished was about to come to an abrupt end. Ooh. Soon the reality and the sadness was set into her family as they realized she is now a memory. That's horrible to talk like that. I don't really like that. All she was is just a memory and all that. This author is something else if we're calling her that. As we could look around her house and see her things, her closet of clothes and shoes, her furniture, even her pantry, and all of this once belonged to a vibrant young woman who thought she had the world in front of her. Someone who planned on living, not dying. Shanann seemed to have touched the lives of so many people. She struggled with her own health issues, but kept going. Now she is gone, and all that's left are memories, good and bad. But the one true thing that remains is the sadness. What she thought was a perfect life at one time, and the thoughts she shared about Christopher being the perfect husband, now I don't think she ever said that, were about to all be taken away by that perfect husband. He was someone that his family loved, adored, and trusted. Sunday, August 12th, 2018. A good day by all accounts. Shanann was in Phoenix, Arizona at a Thrive Weekend convention. Christopher was with Bella and Cece, who for the last couple of weeks had steadily gotten on his nerves. And he's on my nerves. He didn't remember any other time the girls were bothering him so much. He would have rather been with Nikki. Ugh. And she was all he could think about, causing him to feel the girls were rubbing his last nerve. One thing he can't explain is how he felt so pulled towards her when he wasn't with her. The birthday party was nice, but he really couldn't concentrate on anything that was going on around him. He was in a fog. Oh no, not a fog. Brings back memories of Jodi Arias on the stand when my boy was questioning her. Like, get out this fog, Mr. Juan Martinez, the best prosecutor ever. Yet it was helping to pass the time, and it kept the girls occupied. Shanann forgot to tell him there would be water balloons, and the kids would be playing with water, so he didn't bring their swimsuits and towels. They had a lot of fun anyway. They laughed and squealed along with the other kids. This was the last party and the last playing in water they would ever have. Oh my God. While they were playing with water balloons and squealing in fun, he watched them. Did we just say that? Like, how many times are we going to repeat that? But it didn't even register with him. He planned to kill them the next morning. He said he really didn't want to, but knew he would. The plan to annihilate his family and dispose of them was not a well-thought-out plan, one that would include hiding evidence. Christopher did not even try to hide all the evidence. When asked about that, he said he didn't know what he was doing. Nothing made sense. It didn't help things that day that Nikki kept texting him, telling him she wanted him and she wanted to see him. It kept his mind active with thoughts of killing his family and clearing the slate and starting over. How could he think he could do something like this and just get away with it and start over like his family never existed? This part of his thinking was all an illusion. We could see how all of this does not make sense. Christopher has an IQ of 140. The scale of intelligence as a genius or almost a genius is 140 or over. Possibly, his genius brain did not afford him common sense. After they came home from the party, he grilled some chicken breasts, even packed his lunch for the next day for work, and cleaned the kitchen. He bathed the girls, read them bedtime stories, and put them down for the night. He spent the next hour and a half or so talking on the phone with Nikki. According to Christopher, they had phone sex. Yeah, right. For all that time, doubtful. The police records show this call lasted for 111 minutes. 111, wow. She had a hold of me, pulling me into her. I couldn't escape. She was like a drug that you just get hooked on. I couldn't get enough. He didn't want to stay with Shanann and the girls another day. Nikki was all I could think about. Christopher was that close to Nikki, and yet the night before the murders, when he clearly was planning on killing his family the next morning, He didn't say anything to her about it. I don't believe that for a second. Had he planned on what he was going to do or what he was going to say to her to make sense of what happened to his family? When he tucked his little girls into bed that night, he said he knew it would be the last time he would tuck them in. Again, he said he didn't want it to be, but knew it would be. Wouldn't a person know he can't create a life with someone and then after a while decide he is bored and just throw them away? The pain and destruction of divorce is awful. None of that, though, is as destructive as killing the entire family. There has to be something evil and could cause a man to disregard his family to this degree. As those babies went to sleep that night, hopefully their minds didn't feel any differently than any other night. Usually once they went to bed, they stayed in their beds and went to sleep. They had an early nap that day and a busy day afterwards. They should have fallen asleep quickly. However, Bella kept getting out of bed, wanting to know when her mommy was coming home. Oh, pobrecito, poor baby. She knew. She had a feeling. She just knew. Smart girl. To snuff out the innocent lives of two little girls makes no sense at all. Two little girls that loved and trusted their daddy to protect them from harm, who was the very one who snuffed out their lives. In talking to Christopher now, he would be the first to tell you how senseless and unjust it is. Christopher will say today, if a friend had been there to tell him he needed to come to his senses and wake up and stop this affair and put his life back together, he would have probably listened to them. Of course, no one knew about his affair, and no one knew to what extent he was living a double life. On the morning of August 13th, Christopher checked out of his mind and allowed the thoughts he had been entertaining to become a reality. What was inside of him seemed to have taken over. The monster that had been growing needed to satisfy its craving for a human soul, several human souls. Now it was too late, and the most unbelievable and dark act was about to play out on 2825 Saratoga Trail in the beautiful little town of Frederick, Colorado. Shanann texted him that her plane was delayed. It would be very late before she would be home. This was disappointing to Christopher, since he wanted to talk to her about everything, and felt he had his nerve up. He had played it over and over in his mind. When he thought about talking to her, his heart would race. He knew he was going to kill her, but said he did not want to. Why, if he didn't want to, would he have chosen to anyway? One can only imagine the conflict of a mind if to contemplate doing such a horrible thing. What torment to plan the killing of your family. Oh, please. Christopher says this is just not who he has ever been, and does not know what could make him do such a horrible thing. After to blame it on Shanann confused everything and made it worse. This was not fair to Shanann or his own family. It is possible he did not have good memory of what happened, not at first anyway. Most likely the trauma could have caused the memory loss. He says after he killed Shanann, he trembled all the way to the oil site. As we seen on the neighbor's video camera, he looked scared and guilty. It seemed as though he knew that camera was pointing to him. Research shows that physical and emotional trauma can directly affect a person's memory, a condition causing temporary memory loss to help a person cope with the traumatic event. If the brain registers an overwhelming trauma, then it can essentially block that memory in a process called dissociation or detachment from reality. It is similar to being lost in the middle of a good book, daydreaming at work, or playing a video game. Then it's experiencing a common form of mild dissociation. However, over time, severe trauma can change the brain. The area that controls memory becomes smaller. The night before the murders, Christopher knew the next morning was going to be the day he would rid his life of his family. He thought it would free him to be with Nikki. Shanann was leaving the Arizona airport and leaving her group of Thrive friends for the last time. There would be an empty place at the Thrive conventions from now on. The empty seat would be missed as many of them were the down line to Shanann. In the months ahead, it would be her father and brother that would stand on stage at the Thrive convention and accept the award that would have been hers, that she had worked tirelessly for. The business she had built and the friends she made would be gone in an instant. only about 6 hours from the time she left Arizona. Okay, that was chapter 10. We're going to move on to chapter 11, and it is titled Home for the Last Time. Death ends a life, not a life relationship. The weather report for early morning, August 13, 2018, in Frederick, Colorado. Clear skies, temps in the middle 60s, light winds 15 miles per hour. Quiet Monday. Following in the footsteps of the past weekend, this week began with calm conditions remaining across the state of Colorado. A cutoff low-pressure system had developed across southeast Colorado and would slowly move northeastward, over the next few days. The ridge, while centered near Las Vegas, has eroded and weakened significantly. In the middle of the night, Shanann and her friend left the airport on their way home after a trip to Arizona with Thrive. To Shanann,